Hi everyone, I'm Doug from DigiPen in Redmond. In this video, we'll improve the game's shooting behavior by cloning the bullet sprite and then working with those clones. Scratch Invaders is a space shooter, but right now, its shooting is pretty limited. Let's review how it currently works. When the spacebar is pressed, the hero's shoot function is called. This function broadcasts the hero shot event and then plays a sound effect. When the bullet receives this event, it goes to the position of the hero and then begins a forever loop, where it moves up the screen. The enemy also has some code that refers to the bullet. It repeatedly checks whether it's touching the bullet, and if it is, it disappears. It's pretty simple, but it has some serious limitations. The first thing you may notice is that the bullet is always visible, whether it's been fired or not. We really should only see it when it's in motion. Secondly, and perhaps more importantly, we only have one bullet. It's clear that Scratch Invaders needs to have more than that. So what's the best way to make this happen? Well, we could right-click the bullet sprite in the sprite pane and choose to duplicate it. This gives us a second bullet, but this isn't a very good solution. How many copies should we make? We will need another bullet for every time the player tries to shoot, so we don't know how many we need ahead of time. Thankfully, there is a better way to do this. In video games, it's common to duplicate game objects as they are needed, because you don't always know how many of everything you need to make at the time when you're making it. This process is different from choosing to duplicate a sprite in the sprite pane in Scratch because it happens while the game is running. Code effects that occur while a game is running are said to happen at runtime. Duplicating an object at runtime is called cloning. After you clone an object, you have the original and you have the clone. This is how we'll copy our bullet. In Scratch, you can clone a sprite using the Create Clone block found in the Control category. This makes a perfect copy of the original sprite and places it at the same position as the original. The clone then runs its own code separately from the code of the original that it was made from. There are a few things to watch out for when using clones in Scratch. First of all, there is a limit to the number of clones that can be made from any individual sprite. It's usually not a problem, but it's something to keep in mind. Secondly, it can be challenging to keep track of which parts of a sprite's code are run by the original and which parts are run by its clones. Careful use of functions can help with this. Let's improve the shooting in Scratch Invaders by cloning the bullet. Load what you've already done in that project, or visit the link in the description below, and then click the See Inside button. To begin, select the bullet in the sprite pane. Let's take a close look at what we're already doing here. First, when the bullet receives the hero shot event, it responds by calling its initialize function. This is where we move the bullet to the hero, and it's where we initialize the bullet speed variable. Then, after the initialize block, we repeatedly call handle movement inside a forever block, which propels the bullet upward. As a matter of fact, this is not the best place to call the initialize function after all. Initialize is what we name a function that is called once at the start of the game, and yet here it's called every time the hero shoots. We did this because we wanted to initialize the position of the bullet to be wherever the hero was when they shot. In other words, it made sense at the time, but there's a better way of doing it. Click the light yellow Events category on the left. Find the Start block in the block palette and drag it into the code area. Drag the Initialize block away from the When I Receive block and attach it to the Start block instead. Then reattach the Forever block to the When I Receive block. Now, initialize is only called when the green flag is clicked, so we need to put the goTo block somewhere else. Remove it from the body of the initialize function. Then, drag the set block away from it and add that back to the initialize function. The goTo block should be run when the hero shoots, so attach it here between the whenIReceive block and the forever block. Now the bullet should still work the same as it did before, but its code is assembled in a more logical way. Fixing code so that it's written better but still does the same thing is called refactoring, and it's a big part of software development. Okay, now it's time to clone the bullet. Click the gold Control category on the left. Find the Create Clone block in the block palette and drag it into the code area. This block will allow us to clone any sprite in the game, so make sure that Myself is selected from its drop-down list. So, where should this go? Let's attach it here between the whenIReceive block and the goTo block. When we clone an object in a video game, it's common to give it a set of instructions that should run just after it's created. Scratch has a block that allows us to do this. In the block palette, find the whenIStartAsAClone block and drag it into the code area. Any code that we attach to this block is only run by the bullet's clones and not the original bullet. Let's create a function that will contain the clone's startup code. Click the pink My Blocks category on the left, and then click the Make a Block button in the block palette. Name the new function Clone Startup and click OK. The Clone Startup block is added to the block palette, and a define block for it is added to the code area. Find the Clone Startup block and attach it to the whenIStartAsAClone block. Now we have a convenient place to put any code that should set things up for each clone, such as the goTo block. Drag the goTo block away from the Create Clone block and add it to the body of the Clone Startup function. Then drag the Forever block away from it. Now, you may be tempted to put the Forever block back beneath the whenIReceive block, but don't do it. Think about it. The Forever block contains the movement code. Only the bullet's clones should move, so attach the Forever block to the bottom of the Clone Startup block here. Now click the green flag. Try shooting a few bullets. It works pretty well. Notice that the enemy still disappears when it's hit by a clone. Scratch's touching block can't tell the difference between a sprite and its clones, so it still works just fine. Now, look at the clones and then stop the game by clicking the Stop button. They disappear when the game stops. It's good that the clones vanish when the game stops or restarts, but we should make that happen while the game is running as well. Let's make it so that the clones are removed when they reach the top of the game window. Scratch does have a way of detecting if an object is touching the edge of the window, but if your bullet is tall, then it will hit the edge very early, and this looks kind of odd. Instead, we'll give the bullet a boundary check function, just like we did for the hero. Click the Make a Block button in the block palette. Name the new function Boundary Check. Drag the new Boundary Check block into the code area and attach it beneath the Handle Movement block inside the mouth of the Forever block, like this. The bullet's boundary check function will work a lot like the hero's. We'll create a variable to store the maximum Y position that the bullet should reach, and we'll use an if-then block to check if it's gotten there. Click the orange Variables category, and then click the Make a Variable button. Name the new variable Bullet Top Boundary. Find the Set block in the block palette and add it to the Initialize function. make sure bullet top boundary is selected from its list. What number should we use? Well, the Y position of the very top of the game window is 180, so let's start with that. Type the number 180 in the value field of the set block. Now we need to compare the bullet's Y position to the boundary. Click the gold Control category and find the if-then block. Add it to the body of the boundary check function. We want to check whether the bullet is at the boundary or above it. In other words, if its Y position is greater than or equal to the boundary. The easiest way to do this in Scratch is by checking whether it's not less than the boundary. Click the green Operators category and find the Not block. Drag and drop it into the condition slot of the if-then block. Now find the Less Than block and drag and drop it in the condition slot in the Not block. Click the medium blue Motion category and find the Y position reporter block. Drag and drop it in the left value field in the Less Than block. Then click the orange Variables category and find the bullet top boundary reporter block. Drag and drop it in the right value field of the Less Than block. When the bullet gets to the boundary, we want to delete it. Click the gold Control category. Find the Delete This Clone block and attach it inside the mouth of the if-then block. Click the green flag and test the game out. Now the bullets disappear when they reach the top. Depending on how big your bullet is, 180 might be too low for the bullet's boundary, so you may wish to experiment and find a better number. We'll make just one more change before we're done for now. The original bullet doesn't do anything anymore, but it's still awkwardly lying around in the game window. It should remain hidden, and the clones should be shown as soon as they are created. This is easy to do. First, with the bullet selected, click the Hide button right here. Next, click the purple Looks category. Find the Show block and add it to the body of the Clone Startup function. When you're ready to test it, click the green flag. It looks much better now. There's still plenty more we can do to continue to improve the bullet, like making it disappear after hitting an enemy, or putting even more thought into how the shooting sound effect fits into the theme of the game. You should experiment with these things yourself. Let's recap what we've learned in this video. First, we refreshed our memory of how shooting works in Scratch Invaders. We learned that it can be improved by duplicating the bullet sprite at runtime, which is called cloning. The main advantage of cloning a sprite is that you don't need to know ahead of time how many copies of it you will need. But we also learned that there is a limit to the number of clones that can exist at once. Finally, we used bullet cloning to improve Scratch Invaders. In the next video, we'll look at a useful way to apply mathematics to game object positions.